All right, thank you so much for joining me and my coworker Katie Selleck here today. The way that this is going to work, I guess the agenda here is I'm going to give a brief presentation on some trends that we're noticing of information literacy from both external studies as well as from data that we analyze from our own users. And then after that presentation is complete, I'm going to pass it off to Katie. She's going to provide an overview of the product, so she'll give a live demo of how we've built some information literacy tools to students along with the research process. To give you a little bit of background on myself before we get into all the details of the presentation, my name is Emily Gover, and I am one of the librarians over here at EasyBib.com. Before I joined the EasyBib team in January, I worked at a small college down in Georgia, services librarian, which was also part of the public services team there. So I did a lot of one-on-one reference interviews with students, and I also did some instruction in the classroom as well. And I really got to see where a lot of college students are struggling with our information literacy skills. If you're unfamiliar with EasyBib, we're an online information literacy platform. We're well known for our free service, which offers citation tools for students, but we also provide a lot of other things as well, including website evaluation, research, and note-taking tools as well. So we, as librarians, understand that students have really gotten into the habit to use popular websites for scholarly research. For day-to-day things, if you want to find a recipe or you want to find a celebrity's blog or movie times, Google and Bing and all of those other sites are great, but for scholarly research, it's pretty insufficient. Continuing to use these resources because they're easy to use, easy to find, and it's a really familiar territory and interface for them to use. Start today by talking about some recent findings on the status of plagiarism, research methods, and citation practices among students. In 2011, the Pew Research Center came out with a study where they had talked with college presidents on the prevalence of plagiarism over the past 10 years at their institution. More than half of them, 55%, report an increase in plagiarism on campus. 4% didn't increase, but they didn't really see a decrease either. And fortunately, only 2% of college presidents saw a decrease in plagiarism. Surprisingly, of the college presidents who did notice an increase, so of that 55%, almost 90% of them believe that computers and the internet have played a major role in this trend. I'm sure that's not very surprising to many of you, and some of these other studies that we're going to talk about today will further bolster that belief. TRIN is a plagiarism detection service, and it's it's well known across the United States. It's mostly targeted for higher educational institutions, but is also used by secondary schools as well. Between 2010 and 2011, they analyzed 33 million papers that had been submitted through their service. And as they analyzed these papers, they found 128 million content matches. So those are instances of plagiarism, which averages out to about 4 instances of plagiarism for each paper that was submitted. In regards to higher educational institutions specifically, there were 23.6 million content matches to user-generated websites alone. If you were wondering which websites students were plagiarizing most frequently, the number 1 and number 2 most plagiarized websites were Wikipedia and Yahoo Answers. Wiki was plagiarized overwhelmingly 10% of the time, so it was definitely outranked number 2, Yahoo Answers, which came in a distant second at just under 4%. I think these can be explained pretty easily here. When go to everyday search engines like Google or Yahoo, and they type in their search query, Wikipedia and Yahoo Answers is almost always ranked at the very top, if not within the first 5 or so results. And Studies have shown that all users, not just students, don't go beyond the first several or so results on the page. And just a side note, I don't know if you've noticed, but if you go to Google now and you type in a search query, the results page, most of them only contain 7 results now as opposed to 10, just because people don't really look at those other pages. So, interesting fact, and it does show that students are still going to these search engines to do their scholarly research. 2010, OCLC talked with college students about how they use electronic information sources in their research. Astonishingly, there was a 136% increase in use of the Ask an Expert websites like WikiAnswers since 2005. So just over a 5-year period, they saw a 136% increase. That was a pretty staggering percentage. So what we wanted to do was cross-reference how frequently Answers.com is cited on our own website. And we noticed that it is also one of the more frequently cited sources on EasyBib. What's interesting about this is that Answers.com is also a user-generated content site. So the term Ask an Expert is used pretty loosely here. If you go to Answers.com, there will be people asking some sensible questions, but you also find sites with Answers.com with questions like, do cats know their cats? And things that are just completely ridiculous and certainly does not deem it to be an authoritative source for research at all. Interestingly enough, the OCLC study also found that only 10% of respondents are using online library question services, such as Question Point, Library Help, sources like that. And I found that to be really interesting just because I use that resource a lot when I was in undergrad and in library school sometimes. And I found it to be a really invaluable resource just to have that instant reference service available to me just through my computer. So hopefully we'll be able to find a way to bring virtual reference to students a little better. Another interesting point from the OCLC study was the unfortunate limited use of library websites. Found that 40% of students that they polled have never even used their library's website. And even more frighteningly, of those who haven't used it, almost a quarter of them, 23%, believe that other websites have better information out there. This is really shocking and staggering and further shows, this is a great reason as to why students aren't using virtual reference services because they're not even going to the library's website. EasyBib does offer ways to integrate various aspects of the library's website into its own interface, so that could be one way for libraries to bring their own resources to students. But either way, it is apparent that students don't understand the invaluable resources that they can find through their library's website and how that should really be the first place that they go for research as opposed to Answers.com or everyday search engines. Step away from percentages and statistics for a minute and talk more about some raw numbers that you might find interesting. 37 million. There are students who have used EasyBib over the past year or so. And EasyBib started out 10 years ago, and it really grew organically through word of mouth from students and classmates. And it's grown to the point that we estimate almost 1 out of every 2 students in the United States are familiar with EasyBib. We've had over 500 million citations created on our website. And this number provides pretty good representation of the U.S. student base. So when we pull data and we analyze it, it gives a very good representation. 500 million. A couple years ago, Eric Schmidt, who at the time was Google CEO, he now is the executive chairman there, at a conference, and he came out and said that this is the amount of information that we create online every 48 hours, 500 million gigabytes. To kind of put that into a perspective for you, the same amount of information that we created from the dawn of civilization until 2003, and now we're creating it every 2 days. Keep in mind that this number came out just about 2 years ago, and since then there's been a huge influx in the use of Twitter, mobile technology, smartphones, instantaneous sharing. So I'd imagine this number is only growing more so every year, and I would be really intrigued to see what it's up to at this point. But regardless, this does show that students are completely overwhelmed with a seemingly infinite amount of information when they go online, and it's not necessarily getting any easier or any more manageable for them. Here, we took a small set of data from our users earlier this year, and we broke it down into what types of sources are cited most often. EasyBib offers 59 different types of sources for students to cite. So we have some of them listed here. You can cite a federal bill, a dissertation, life performance, but maybe you could take a moment and just think about which of our most used source formats would correlate with these percentages. Chart provides a better representation here. So 50% of our sources cited on EasyBib come from websites. Books are in a distant second at 15%, followed by journals at 6%, and newspapers and photographs at 2% each. And all of the other 54 types are squished into the remaining 25%. Apparent that students are going to the web and they're citing websites for their bibliographies and their papers, but which websites are they using specifically? From the same data set as we saw on the previous slide, and this shows the top 10 sites that are cited on EasyBib. So, there's a lot of credible sources here. We have websites like the New York Times, BBC News, Washington Post. Interspersed with those, we also have a lot of user-generated content, such as content, which is now known as Yahoo Voices, but it is still equally user-generated, and Answers.com, which, as you saw before, seen a massive increase in use over the past 5 years, and from this data set, it was actually ranked our 8th most cited website. Conveniently left out what our #1 source is, so maybe you could take a moment to think to yourselves about what our most cited website could possibly be. Yeah, it is Wikipedia, the old standard that students are all too comfortable with. I know it's kind of like an elephant in the room for a lot of librarians, whether it's appropriate to use, whether it's not. My personal belief is that Wikipedia, more or less, if students understand how to evaluate and interpret the articles, it'd be a good place to start. They can go to the references, they can track to see where the edits were made, and they can use it as a place to start, but I really wouldn't recommend citing it in their bibliography, but it clearly shows that 37 million users, it is definitely their website of choice. So, break news, not really. Students are using Google and Wikipedia for their research. There's an ongoing study that's being conducted by 2 librarians over at the University of Washington's iSchool. It's called Project Information Literacy, and it's being led by Allison Head and Eisenberg. And what they do is they go in the field, and there's several participating colleges and universities throughout the United States, and they really strive to figure out how students are conducting research and identify where they're having problems. One of their studies that they did found that over 95% of college-level students are using Google in a course-related context, and 85% of them are using Wikipedia. The term course-related context could be anything from a homework assignment to an in-class activity to a final paper or a research project or presentation. So it covers a wide breadth of sources, or context rather, but it shows that Wikipedia are overwhelmingly used by almost all students, even in the college level. couple more interesting things that we're learning here. Notice that there's been a big increase in use of multimedia citations. As you saw before, photographs were in the top 5 most cited sources on EasyBib. In the top 10, we also have digital images and films. The top 25 source types, we also have musical recordings and television. So what this shows is students are moving beyond the print resources to kind of diversify their source types, which is great. But some other stuff that we're also learning is that students are struggling with attribution. And some of the more frequently cited websites that we see include Google Images, Google, and for some reason, EasyBib. So, I think, explained simply because we saw on the previous slide, students are going to cite digital photographs more and more, and they're not understanding that you need to cite the source URL. So what it is, if the file has to end in a JPEG, a bitmap, a GIF, something like that. But instead, they're going to Google Images, and they find the image that they're looking for. Instead of going to the source URL, they copy and paste Google Images into their bibliography instead. That's why they're citing EasyBib. I'm not really sure. I think it would be awesome if they were writing a research paper about EasyBib, but that seems highly unlikely, and my fear is that students may not understand what's appropriate to cite. If they have a professor or an instructor that says, you need to cite every single thing that you use to put this paper together, and they may, fit of panic, be like, well, I used EasyBib to build my bibliography, and my bibliography is part of my paper, so I need to cite EasyBib. That's my best guess with that one. To reiterate what our philosophy here is at EasyBib, we strive to form tools and features based around what we learn from our users. So not only are we analyzing what they do from data that we pull from our own website, but we also reach out to librarians, and we're always researching and discovering different struggles and areas of improvement for our users. And through this analysis, we have to figure out where they're struggling, and then we develop these information literacy tools to bring these skill sets to them. Just touch upon briefly about how we help with information literacy tools. We have several features here, just a couple of the things that we offer, but some of them include a dynamic digital notebook space, which allows students to build and develop and organize their ideas and sources from the point of finding the source all the way through synthesizing the information, tying it back to a source that they used, and then building it into a dynamic outline. We also have a website evaluation feature, and what we did there was we analyzed the top 5,000 websites that have been cited on EasyBib, and we gave a credibility rating based on the overall domain. Additionally, we have a feature called Learn Cite, which shows students how their citations are formed as they're formatting and editing the content of their bibliography. So it shows it right in line and really helps them understand how a book citation looks different from a newspaper article citation and how that may differ from a journal article citation. This concludes the informational portion of this webinar. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, just to reiterate, we do have an archived recording of this available. Alternatively, if you'd like to view just the presentation online to check out the slides, maybe go back and look at some of the sources that we used, the presentation is available online. So if you want to do that, if you'd like access to that, just shoot me an email. It's listed there, emily@imagineeasy.com. Additionally, we do have a couple social networking things set up, so you can just find me on Twitter, Emily_EasyBib. I also have an EasyBib librarians page, so if you guys are into the whole social networking thing, definitely feel free to find us on there as well. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass my phone off to Caitlin. What she'll do is she'll give you guys a live demo of these information literacy tools that I was just touching upon a moment ago. If you'd like to see how this works and how students can build and improve their research skills, definitely stick around. Additionally, if you'd like a free trial of EasyBib, you can contact Caitlin at the email address listed here. I'll make a point to put these in the chat box as well. So just hang tight for a minute, and we'll transition everything over to the other computer. Thanks, everyone.
Everyone, it's going to take just a minute for my screen to come up. Okay, there we go. Now, what you should be seeing right now is the Kellogg Community College Library Edition customization. Kellogg Community College recently subscribed to Library Edition, and I think we actually have a few people from that college in attendance this afternoon. Now, just so you are aware, we are offering discounts for both our Library Edition and our School Edition products. So if you'd like any information about pricing and what that discount is, you can shoot me an email or give me a call, and we'll make sure to put my phone number in the chat as well if you're interested in giving me a call. So what we're doing here with this customization page, Kellogg, what we've done is we've embedded their summons widget. So with Kellogg Community College, they are able to search here through their databases, through their OPAC, etc. So the student can type in a word here and brought to the Kellogg Community College results. Now we are also able to connect any WorldCat local link that you have here for searching, or if you're not a WorldCat local member, we can also embed your OPAC widget in here. We also allow you to embed any virtual reference services you have. Right here you can see the chat, the reference chat here the community college has. And we do allow you to include links to any library resources that you might have and might want to include and promote to your students. And we do this because we really do want to remind students that the library and the librarian and all of those resources are really important parts of the research process. So as my colleague Emily did, we do have 37 million users. So it is very likely that many of your students have already heard about us and may even be using us, our free version. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into our project page to start. With EasyBib, we do allow the student to organize pretty much everything that they'll need for their paper all in one place. So the student can link to their bibliography, they can link to their notebook, and if the student has access to Google Docs, either through the school or through any personal account they might have, they can also link directly to their paper. Now, I'll create a new project for you. Title it Japan. I'm going to start with MLA 7 citation format, but we can easily switch that to APA and Chicago Turabian even after we've already created our citations. So here you can see the project I just created. Now I'm going to go into this project's bibliography to start. Now up here, what we have is our most commonly cited source formats. So we have a website, book, where you can search by book title, keyword, ISBN. We have journal, where you can search by keyword or DOI number. But we actually do have 59 different source formats that students can cite with EasyBib. So all of these, we provide citation forms, and many of them have an offsite as well. So the student just needs to search by keyword to locate the source that they used and create the citation. If your students ever have trouble identifying source formats, we do have this help button right here that does provide descriptions and examples of different source formats. going to show you how this citation works. Now, I'm going to possibly break a cardinal rule here and cite a Wikipedia article. I'm just going to copy and paste the URL into here. Click Cite this. And as you can see here in yellow below, we've said that wikipedia.org may be credible. And then you can click here more about the criteria we use to make that determination. Now what we've actually done, and Emily touched on this a little bit earlier, is that we've checked the credibility of 5,000 of our most commonly cited websites, and we did use this criteria here to do that. Even though, even if you haven't checked the credibility of a source for the student that they're trying to cite, they'll always have access to this criteria so they can make that determination for themselves. And we do want to remind students that the credibility determination is just a guide, and they should always be thinking critically about the sources that they use themselves. Now, when I clicked AutoCite, what we did is we scraped the metadata from this website and filled it into the proper data element boxes. And as you know, Wikipedia articles don't have authors, so this was left blank. I'm actually going to make one up just so you can see our Learn Cite feature. As you can see here on the right, this Help button popped up. I'm going to click here to show you our Learn Cite feature. What we're doing here is we're showing students where in the citation the different data elements belong. So you can see my cursor is here in the Smith box, and it's highlighted in green right here. We also provide, within this Learn Cite box, information as to where the student can find different data elements that they'll need for their citation. We do also provide a reminder of different rules. So for example, here we have a reminder about the URL in LA7. So this has all these rules and reminders right at their fingertips. I'm going to click here to add annotation. I click here to create the citation. And here you can see the citation I just created with that tricky hanging indent put in for the student already. Now I'm going to cite a book using a title. Now this search is powered by WorldCat, so the student can scroll through here to select the edition that they used. And we use WorldCat to scrape the data and put into the proper element boxes. And students should always double check to make sure everything looks okay. And I'm going to click here to create the citation. You can see it was put in alphabetically. Now, to cite a journal article, the student just needs to locate the DOI. They copy that, paste it into this search box, click this, select, and then can create the citation. Just a few minutes, I was able to create 3 citations very easily by using our AutoCite function. Now, even though we started in MLA7, I can very easily switch these citations to APA. Remember about APA capitalization rules, and switch to Chicago-Turabian. It's really great because sometimes students misunderstand directions and they don't have to go back and recreate all of their citations to put them in the correct format. Within Chicago-Turabian, you can very easily create footnotes by clicking here. PA and LA. You can create in-text citations by clicking parenthetical. And the student can just copy and paste this directly into their paper. Now I'm going to quickly go into another bibliography that has a few more sources in it. you can see Analyze feature. Now, when I click Analyze, what we do is we give students' bibliographies a score based on the diversity of the source types that they used, the database usage, which you can see I need to work on, the quality of the websites that they used, and the number of sources that they used in their paper. And this number and the score actually does recalculate based on the number of pages. So if I put in 30 pages, for example, the score is no longer going to be excellent. It's going to say that I need to work on that. And they do also provide other information that's not part of the score, but still important for the student to think about, including the years that the publications were published. So recency can be very important depending on the discipline that you're in. We have the dates that the majority of the sources were cited, have the number of annotations. Okay, back to the bibliography. Now, once the student has completed their bibliography, they have the ability to save it as a Google Doc and also print it, it can be exported as a Word document as well. Students can also email their bibliographies, and they also have the ability to invite others to view, edit, or comment on their bibliographies. And it can be really great if you're working on a group project or if there's a teacher who wants to check in on a student's progress. I'm going to go into our notebook space. Now, students really love our notebook. Oops, sorry about that. We'll get back in there. Now, students really love our notebook space because it does allow them to work in a way that many of them are used to working. And I'm just going to create a new note, and you can do that by clicking here or clicking in this space. I know that many students really like to copy and paste information from one place to another, and we do allow them to do that here. They can say, sorry, having some issues with my mouse here. Okay, so they can put in their data that they've collected, quote, but then we're also providing a framework for them to really synthesize the information that they've gathered. So they can put their paraphrase here, or comment here. They can also title their note and associate a source from the bibliography that they created earlier. Now, for our visual learners, students also have the ability to add colors to their notes. This green. I'm going to save the note to create it. Now that I've created this note, I can drag it around just like I would a note card on a table. And I'm going to drag it on top of other notes to create groups. And then retitle this group. Now over here, we have our dynamic outline space. And what the student can do is they can enter in their thesis statement right here. Then double-click to rename bullets. What's really great is they can also drag and drop note cards directly into the outline, so all their information will be added there. Now, students really have the ability to play around with this information in a very fluid way. They make sure that the paper is in that they really want it to be. So you can slice over, can make this a main point again. Now, in addition to this visual view that we're looking at right now, we also have a list view. Students can see their notes in a bit more detail. Here you can see all the information from the note that I just created. Right now, these are organized by group, but we can also organize them by source. So you can easily see which notes they have not yet associated with the source. But now we're okay. go back to Visualize View. Now, we recently also introduced notebook sharing. Now, a project has been shared with a student or a teacher. They have the ability to view and comment on note cards. We don't have the ability to edit them quite yet, but that's something that's in development. So you can see my colleague Christina's note cards. I'm able to see her outline. And I also go into the list view to see her notes in more detail. Now here, this box actually does act a live chat, so if they are on at the same time, they are able to chat back and forth with each other, which can be really great for group projects, especially if people are scattered and on different places throughout the campus. Now, even if my colleague Christina isn't on right now, I can also leave her a note. And be able to see them when she logs back in again. And no note waiting for the student, this box does flash for them. Now that you are aware, if you're interested, we do provide citation and writing guides for students. Many of them are visual. So if the student is ever having trouble looking where to find a specific element for their citation, the guides can help them find that. So a student is told where they may be able to identify the volume number, for example. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you today. Thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions for me and Emily or would like to set up a 30-day free trial, please let us know. Thank you much. Bye-bye.
Howdy, Emily here again. Katie and I are just going to hang out here for a few minutes. So if you have any questions for us, if you'd like to add a comment about the presentation, if you'd like us to show you another one of these features on the live demo again, we're more than happy to do that. I did add the email addresses into the chat box. So if you need to contact either me or Katie, you can certainly do that. So we'll hang out here for a few minutes. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel to put them in the chat box. I see your comment. Thanks so much for the positive feedback. If you have, if you or your colleagues have any other questions, feel free to contact Katie. Ron, I see your question. Do you know how many people attended? We can check that. Just give me 1 second. So taking a look, it looks like only 4 people were able to make it in to the webinar today. I wasn't sure how many people you were expecting to come in, Rhonda, but that many attendees we had so far. And if you want me to send you the recording of the webinar, I can definitely do that too. Okay, Rhonda, it looks like that's how many people you were anticipating, so that's wonderful. Sure to, I see there's a couple of people asking for the presentation or a recording, so I'll definitely get that to you guys today. Usually we can have the webinar ready for streaming in just a couple of minutes after the webinar ends, so you'll definitely get that in your email inbox by the end of the day. Thank you again to everybody for coming. We'll hang out here for a little bit more, so if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free. But if you've had everything, if you've asked or said everything that you need to, feel free to leave. Thank you again for joining us today.